Hi, I'm Steven Wallis and I've teamed up with the wonderful guys at Chefs for Foodies. Today we are going to be cooking their ultimate Christmas box with a beautiful rolled turkey fillet, some delicious sides, recipes that I've designed. So we're going to relax, take our time, do some great cooking, a few little tips, a few swigs of wine, enjoy the morning. So for this recipe, you will need turkey fillet here from a third generation butcher, amazing welfare. We've got some prosciutto slices, some fresh thyme, Maldon sea salt, black pepper, which I'm going to crack, and some olive oil. So we've got this beautiful fillet. It's from a third generation butcher. Make sure that you take it out of the fridge and give it some resting time. It'll come in some plastic, take it out, let it breathe. Which is really, really important. I'm going to dress this with some prosciutto, which will just add a bit of surface protection, and a really simple dressing of some seasoning, so some fresh thyme, salt and pepper. First thing I'm going to do is just lay down some fresh thyme leaves, like a little bed. A bit of salt, and a bit of pepper, and a smidge of oil. Now this is turkey breast, so it's quite dry. There's not a lot of fat in turkey breast, so this is why we're adding the base of oil and the prosciutto slices. So take our breast and we lay it on top. So then we take our prosciutto slices and we just tuck them under. And you don't need tons, just a nice layer. And prosciutto is great, you can just literally tuck it in. And then we're going to finish this with, again, or we can also tuck it just underneath, which is a nice way of keeping this in place. So just a bit of thyme. We don't want to overdo the flavors. And again, not too much, but a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, another drizzle of olive oil. And then that's going to be ready to pop in the oven. And we're going to foil this up first so that we don't lose too much of the moisture. It almost steam cooks, and then halfway through the foil comes off and we bronze everything. Now the key thing we're also going to use is a thermopen, and this is really about getting the inner temperature to 77 degrees. So we're not looking at time, we're looking at temperature. So we'll be checking and probing the meat in the middle to make sure that we get to the right temperature. So just 2 lots of foil, one way. Ready. In an oven, 170 degrees. You don't want the oven to be too hot because it's going to scorch and burn. So you want a nice, good slow cook on this. In that goes. So for this recipe, you're going to need carrots. We've got some maple syrup, some smoked salt, a bit of brown sugar, and optional some chili flakes, and some salted butter. So we've got the turkey in the oven. We've got the red cabbage braising away nicely. I'm about to have a sip of this rather delicious wine. And actually, let's do this now. Cheers, everybody. So now I'm going to go on to the carrots. And I'm going to cook these again in the oven, easiest way. The first thing I'm going to do is line the baking tray with some foil, because this has got both maple syrup and brown sugar, which will turn into a sticky tar. It's almost impossible to get rid of. So lining the baking sheet, and I'm literally going to tumble the ingredients through and into the oven. Right, so here's your tray. Tumble in our carrots. And we are going to sprinkle over the sugar, which is going to caramelize beautifully. I'm going to hit it with some chili flakes, a good pinch of smoked salt. I also hit it again afterwards, at the end of the cooking, with more smoked salt, so I don't over season it right now. And then I'm going to pour over the maple syrup and just make sure that all the carrots get some maple syrup love. So over that goes. We'll also make sure that whilst we're cooking, we can turn these once or twice. And then the last thing is some butter. This is Christmas. We are using butter with absolute abandon. So in the oven that goes. So the carrots have gone into the oven. They need 40 minutes. So for this recipe, you'll need potatoes, some rapeseed oil, a few garlic cloves, which are optional, and a good hit of Maldon sea salt. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the potatoes, kind of the heart and soul. Good roasties are everything with a good Christmas lunch, trust me. I'm keeping these really simple. Going to add a little hint of garlic, because I like a bit of garlickiness to the potatoes. We've got lots of great flavors, so actually a simple roasty done well is great. First thing I'm going to do is add my rapeseed to the pan, and I'm going to heat this up, get this nice and hot. Into the oil, I'm going to put some garlic cloves, which I'm literally just going to bruise with the flat of my knife. I don't want to chop this up, because if I chop it up too small, it's going to burn. And actually, I want to keep the skins on, because again, the skins are going to help protect the garlic. So 3 bruised cloves, and they're going to go in, skins and all. So we've got our potatoes. In they go. I'm just bring this over. Oil's in, quick hit of salt, and then in the oven these go. Okay, so we've just taken the turkey fillet out. It's had, I don't know, a good hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. What I mentioned earlier was we're using the thermopen to just test how it's cooked, the inner temperature, which is going to get to 77. Now, obviously with all turkey fillets, you're going to have a thinner end and a thicker end. So what we need to do is get our probe and test the thickest part. So that's going to go in, not all the way through, we want to go right into the center, 58.6. So this does need probably another 20 minutes in the oven. But I think if I push the probe into the ends, this is going up to the mid-60s. Get some foil. So I'm actually going to cover each of the ends with a nice little foil hat, because I want the middle to cook, but I don't want the ends to scorch or dry out. Gather some of the juices, which we have here, and I'm just going to do a light baste just to make sure things are nice and juicy. A little bit under here. Make sure that it doesn't get dry. So that is going to go back into the oven, and then we're going to temperature check it in about 20 minutes. So I've just brought the turkey out of the oven. I've hit it with a thermopen. It's hitting the magical number of 77.3. So we're done. The most important thing now is to let this beauty rest. It's going to allow the muscle fibers to relax back and get tender, because at the moment they're going to be like this and it'll just soften up. I'm going to cover this in foil. It's going to go and rest over here where it's nice and warm. Meat doesn't need to be piping hot. So what will add the heat to the dish is we've got hot gravy, we've got hot roast potatoes, we've got hot parsnips. So you've plenty of elements that will be hot, but your meat doesn't need to be. So don't worry about it not being piping hot. The other elements will be. Okay. So for this recipe, you're going to need stuffing, which we will turn into balls, fresh thyme, chipolata sausages wrapped in bacon. So I find this is so much easier to cook these with a skewer. So not only does it give you a bit more sort of, they're just easier to handle rather than trying to lift off 600 of these things off one baking sheet and having a nervous breakdown. So literally take a skewer, get 5 or so onto one and onto your tray. You don't need to oil the tray because the bacon already has quite a bit of fat on it. And pop these on. These are going in the oven as they are. So this is a really simple stuffing. Again, we've got lots of flavors going on. We've got that delicious turkey. We've got the really fragrant spiced red cabbage. We've got the parsnips with polenta and parmesan. We've got Brussels sprouts going on. So really, we don't want to overload. So this is a really simple stuffing. The only thing I'm going to add to this is a tiny bit of fresh thyme. I just want to increase the herbalness because there's something quite nice about that fragrant herbal hit from thyme. So sometimes I find the easiest way to cook stuffing, if it's not in balls, is to do it in a roasting tin, which you can then pop into a tin, cook it, and then carve it up into easy slices. So I'm going to just butter lightly the tin. So in goes your butter into your dish. I'm going to scoop in this very sticky mixture and literally just tamp it down. Just to make sure that nothing burns while it's cooking. Take your stuffing, little spatula, and smooth off the top. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to add a few more little knobs of butter on the top so it doesn't dry out. So that's pretty much it. So that's your stuffing in a loaf tin,